You know, when you think of an explosion, you probably picture the fireball and the deafening noise, right? But what if I told you the most destructive part is something you can't even see? It's an invisible, powerful wave of pressure called blast loading. And today, we're going to break down the science of how we understand and defend against this incredible force.
All right, so here's our game plan. We'll kick things off by defining what blast loading actually is. Then we'll dive into how scientists can possibly study it safely. After that, we'll look at all the different things they test, how they measure the force, and finally, wrap it all up with why this research is so absolutely crucial.
So, let's start at square one. What exactly are we talking about when we say blast loading?
Here it is. It's not the fire. It's the shock wave. It's this intense, invisible wall of pressure that slams into a structure, and it happens in the blink of an eye. A massive, sudden spike in pressure that then quickly fades. That initial, violent punch is what this is all about.
Now this raises a huge question, doesn't it? How on earth do you study something so powerful and destructive in a way that's safe and repeatable?
Well, researchers really have two main approaches. On one hand, you can use the real thing, actual explosives like TNT in carefully monitored field trials. This gives you the most authentic data you can get, but as you can imagine, it's expensive, risky, and really hard to control perfectly. On the other hand, and this is where it gets really ingenious, you can use simulators. Things like shock tubes can create the exact same pressure wave of a blast, but without any actual explosion. This lets scientists run tests over and over again in a safe lab, changing just one tiny variable at a time. It's all about precision.
And it's not just about physical tests. A massive part of this work now happens inside supercomputers. Scientists have this whole digital toolbox with some pretty complex-sounding names. For instance, computational fluid dynamics, or CFD, basically lets them create a virtual wind tunnel to see how that blast wave flows and behaves. Then you've got finite element analysis, which predicts exactly how a structure, like a steel beam or a concrete wall, will bend, buckle, or shatter under that force.
Okay, so we know how to create the blast wave, either for real or in a simulation. So the next question is, what are we testing it on? Well, the list of targets is incredibly diverse, from the absolutely massive to the surprisingly small.
A huge area of focus is, of course, our cities. Researchers spend a lot of time studying how high-rise buildings, and especially their crucial support columns, would stand up to a blast. And this isn't just theoretical stuff. This research directly influences building codes to make our skylines safer. That same logic applies to our critical infrastructure. We're talking about bridges, dams, the kinds of structures our entire society depends on. This research helps make sure they're robust enough to withstand extreme events, protecting everything from our transportation to our water supply.
And remember, this force doesn't just travel through the air. A whole field of research is dedicated to understanding how explosions create shock waves that travel through the ground, affecting buried structures like subway tunnels or military bunkers.
It's not always about giant buildings either. The science also looks at smaller but equally vital targets. Think about industrial pipes, storage tanks for hazardous chemicals, or even things like unmanned drones.
This field is also a proving ground for the materials of the future. Scientists are constantly pushing the limits of advanced composites, like panels with internal honeycomb structures, or those reinforced with wonder materials like graphene, to see how they absorb and redirect that explosive energy.
And maybe most importantly of all, sometimes the target is us. A critical and very serious area of research is understanding how a blast wave affects the human body, specifically how it can cause traumatic brain injuries. This is a devastating and often invisible wound, especially for soldiers, and this science is vital for developing better protection.
So you've got your simulated blast, and you've got your target. But how do you turn that incredibly fast, chaotic event into cold, hard data? What are the key things you actually need to measure? It really boils down to 4 key metrics. First, you have peak overpressure. That's the maximum pressure the shockwave reaches. Think of it as the hardest point of the impact. Then there's impulse, which is the total punch the wave delivers over time. Positive phase duration is pretty straightforward. How long does that high-pressure wave last? And finally, if something breaks apart, you measure fragmentation velocity, which is just how fast the debris gets thrown. These 4 numbers can tell you almost everything about a blast's destructive potential. So why? Why go through all this trouble? The answer, at its core, is pretty simple. It's about building a safer world. And the process follows a very clear path. It all starts with those experiments and simulations.
The data from those tests helps scientists understand and characterize exactly what a blast does. That knowledge then helps them build predictive models. And the ultimate goal? All of that work is used to create and improve the real-world design codes and safety standards that protect us all.
And you can see the applications just about everywhere. This science leads to safer buildings, stronger military vehicles, better protective gear for soldiers, and more secure infrastructure. It even helps industries like mining to better control vibrations. At the end of the day, every experiment, every simulation is another step toward protecting lives.
And this leaves us with one final thought. As we invent revolutionary new materials, and as the threats we face continue to evolve, the science of blast protection has to keep up. The research we've looked at today isn't just about understanding the present, it's about preparing for the future. So what do you think that next frontier for blast protection will be?